Hello, welcome to Dungeon Dwellers Podcast. I'm your host, Justin. Today is our latest review for Fantasy Month. We're reviewing the Goblin Slayer light novel, uh, written by Kumo Kagyu, illustration by Noboru Kannatuki. This is published by Yen Press. This is a light novel, so what that means is it's only like light novels tend to be 200 pages or less, but they do come with illustrations here and there. The problem with light novels is that they're more expensive than your average novels. Average novels being at least like 400 pages, and because of that, you're paying almost double for a light novel that you would for a regular fantasy novel. Like, I have another book I plan on reviewing for Fantasy Month. Name of the Wind. This has, holy shit, it's like 800 pages. Oh, I'm not gonna finish it. I'm not gonna finish this book this month. No fucking way. But it has like almost 800 pages, and it was $15. This is a bad example. But, well, it's I should, but like usually, like I think I paid like 12 bucks for the Wheel Times first book, and that was like almost like 1,000 pages. So like roughly that's like usually what you're paying for fantasy novels. Here it's like you're paying double for that. But the thing about light novels that I like is that they're super short. So if you're a guy like me who it takes forever to read long books, once in a while you want to read like a book but that's super short, that's easy to enjoy, and they're very easy to read. Like this is um like you can like teenagers can read this shit no problem. There's no big words and shit like that. Suggests ages 16 and up. Yeah. So, what got me into Goblin Slayer? I should mention I have the first 5 books. I haven't read the 5th book because there's a movie that's coming out that's based off the 5th book. So I rather watch the movie first and read the book. How I got into Goblin Slayer is it had some controversy where like the SJW hate mob went after it because in the first episode, you see adventurers go into a cave, and a lot of, like, it was like one male, three females. One of the females gets raped and brutally murdered by, not murdered, another one did though, by goblins, and very much like the troll arc in like Berserk. So this book takes a lot of inspiration from various sources, right? Which is not a big deal for me, but whatever. And because of that rape scene, the hate mob went after the SJWs went after it, and you know me, right? To me, that was that was basically the horn of Gondor being let out, and for me and my fellow incels, anime fans, geeks to uh, pu- take up our banners and go out and buy this book to save it from the SJW hate mob, which I did, and I very much enjoyed. I even picked up the first volume of the manga, which like covers like half the book, right? So I really enjoy it. Um, there's various references. Like the first like chapter, which is like 30 pages or whatever, is pretty much inspired by the beginning of the Record Lotus War book. If you read the book, it starts off differently than the anime. In the anime, you see Parn take on goblins by a river, rescuing some maiden or whatever. And in the book, it's Parn and already in his father's armor, going into a cave with his friend the priest Ito to go out and take out goblins that are nearby his village, and he ends up getting rescued by Slain and his dwarf friend. I forget the name of the dwarf from Record Lotus War. Which, if you haven't seen Record Lotus War, I think I can't remember who put it out, but there's a Blu-ray, and it comes with the OVA series and the anime series. Though the anime series, half of it is just recon, which just recons like the OVA series, and the second half they introduce the kids of the main characters and shit. Which I wasn't a fan of the anime series. I was more a fan of the OVA. Yeah, so like for people who don't know what Record Lotus War is, I can't remember if it started off as a tabletop RPG, but it's basically Japan's version of Dungeons and Dragons, and it had books spun off from it, and you had the anime, and you had like a few games, only one of which came over here on Dreamcast, but I never had. Past the Sega Genesis, I didn't even know they kept making fucking consoles. I didn't even know Dreamcast and Sega Saturn exists, so unfortunately I never played those games. But yeah, but Goblin Slayer, the story is basically, it's a world a lot like Wizardry, where you have like adventure guilds and shit, where adventurers take up quests and go out and kill monsters and shit. And the main character is Goblin Slayer, who goes out in like leather armor, chainmail, a shield strapped to his forearm, and a short sword. Though in the book, there's some translation issues or whatever. They keep describing his sword as unusually long, even though it's supposed to be a short sword, because he goes into caves that have small spaces that are suited for goblins, so like long swords would get in the way. Yes, somebody made a video debunking Goblin Slayer's gear, but like people have to understand, could long swords and spears and shit work? Long spears work well in a cave? Yes, if an experienced person, experienced warrior knows what he's doing. The issue was that you had like inexperienced adventurers who don't know what they're doing. Like in the first fight with the young warrior, who it took me a while to realize this. Him and his girlfriend are basically inspired from Ark, the lad's main characters, Ark and Kulika, the Holy Mother, because like both. Not only are they look exactly like the characters in the story in the first chapter, but they're both the same classes. Like she's a martial artist, and the game she was also a martial artist. He's a warrior. He has the red bandana, brown hair, wears mostly black with a breastplate, a lot like Ark from Ark the Lad. If you haven't played those games, they're super expensive, but you can pretty much get the first 4 games for like $150 for PlayStation, which I did, and I enjoyed them, but the second game is over 150 hours long, and I couldn't fucking beat it. Beat the final boss, which, yeah, grinding in that game is a bitch. Yeah. So, problems people have with the book is that the characters don't have names. They're named after their classes, which gets confusing. They're named after the race and classes, so that gets confusing at times, especially when some of the characters are not main characters, so they're the side characters that are mentioned here from there, so they get confusing, like the people that hang out with Heavy Warrior, which there are 2 characters in this book, Spearman and Heavy Warrior. Spearman is obviously inspired by by Fire Emblem. Like you look at his design, he looks very much like a character from Fire Emblem. And Heavy Warrior is obviously based off Guts from Berserk, except that he has both his arms and both his eyes. But it's basically Guts, like when he was like captain of the Hawks Raiders in the Golden Arc. Which was, the Golden Arc mostly was lighthearted, but people shit on the new arcs for being too lighthearted. When like everybody's favorite arc, the Golden Arc, was very lighthearted as well. So it's like, what the fuck is people's problems? Yeah. So what I liked about this book, though Um, Another problem is that it started off like if you watch the first episode, if you ignore the art style, it looked very much like we were finally going to get a Dark Souls anime because it was super dark, gory, and whatever, right? Just like we wanted a fucking Dark Souls anime to be. But unfortunately, we did not get that, and after the first adventure, it turns basically into a semi harem anime, and while like Goblin Slayer goes on adventures, like the first two adventure, a couple of quests, he's hanging out with Priestess, who's a rookie adventurer. He's teaching her the ropes, and then he eventually gets invited by this party that's has like a female elf archer, ranger, a dwarf shaman, who's wearing Japanese garb for whatever reason, and a lizardman priest. Despite the fact that he's a priest, he uses bladed weapons, which if you know anything about D&D, priests don't use bladed weapons. They have to use blunt weapons, but whatever. He's from a different race and culture than humans, so obviously it would be different for him, right? So like after this book, he pretty much all of his adventures are usually with those characters. Though there is some stories here and there where you follow rookie adventurers, and there's one story where like Goblin Slayer and Heavy Warrior and Spearman go on an adventure to kill a wizard in a tower, which that adventure was really fucking cool, honestly. I would love to see more of those characters. But yeah, I find this book is mostly, yeah, it has the harem bullshit and the usual anime trends where you have to have the cutesy art style and the harem shit, but it has to have that shit because that's the shit that sells in Japan, and if books don't have like high sales, like it's very hard for writers to get their shit published, right? Yeah, so like this book is mostly for people who are anime fans, but also have interests in like D&D and fantasy stuff. So if you're into that stuff, I would say check out Goblin Slayer. If you're not a big reader, there's also the manga and there's also the anime. But as far as I know, there's only one season of the anime. Um, uh, but like I think with the manga, they're pretty far on. So like I'm giving this a 7.5 out of 10. I really love this series, though another critique I would have is that it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. But then again, there's plenty of fantasy series where it's just about the main characters going off in adventures and killing shit. Like one of Warhammer Fantasy's best book series, Go Trek and Felix, which I have the first omnibus. Maybe I'll review it one day. That is basically the gist. Like each book is basically the two characters going off to kill a monster, and that series is very praised and loved, right? So yeah, if you don't mind paying the $20 for this book, it's definitely worth it, I would say, and it's an easy read. Just remind you guys again, I give it a 7.5. Yeah. Also, check out the anime. The anime is pretty good too. Alright, peace. See you on on Monday, where I'll be reviewing The Sword and the Sorcerer for Fantasy Month. Alright, peace.